Do we understand maybe the path yet to understand what kind of damage number we're looking at?
There's still a little bit of uncertainty with this, Alex. It looks like, we were worried most about Tampa, but the focus is actually shifting a little bit south. I expect the new Hurricane Center forecast that should come out here in about 10 or 15 minutes will probably shift it even further, more towards Sarasota, Port Charlotte, that area. Now, that still means that the Tampa area is going to be on the fringes, but the big fear of punching a big storm surge up Tampa Bay, at least that's a little bit less. The problem is on this track, it's looking to go right up through some of the big citrus producing areas. There's phosphate mining and facilities in the way. Then, of course, you've got, as a decaying storm, crossing Disney, Orlando, up through the I-4 corridor. That's still, you're looking at, I think the lowest we're going to see is 30 billion in economic impacts. And if it
Yep.
stays stronger inland, we could hit 60.
Okay,
Wow.
Chuck, good morning. It's Guy. We just had a graphic up that said this could be one of the worst storms to hit the region in over a century. Can you just give me a sort of sense from your perspective of the scale that we're looking at here?
Yeah, the last big storm to hit the Tampa area was 1921, so just over 100 years. And of course, there was nothing down there at that point. Now, the way the track is shifting now, it's actually, we've got a more recent example, and that's Hurricane Charlie in 2004. And so that caused, if you account for 15 years worth of growth, the equivalent of about a 20 or $25 billion storm. So we're kind of in that realm. It's definitely going to be one of the stronger storms and more damaging storms. And in particular, given the economics right now, probably one of the more impactful from a wider national standpoint.
So, Chuck, you mentioned the industries that are going to get hit. And I feel like this time is different. We're in a very different world right now because of the increase in natural gas and oil prices that have really shut in certain areas of industry. So I'm wondering if you anticipate the phosphate industry, for example, to have a different kind of reaction than they would have, say, even a few years ago.
Yeah, absolutely. At least the positive side on this is that all of the effects are going to be well south of the major oil and gas fields. So there are some scattered shut-ins and there's precautionary measures, but mainly for waves propagating up. But the infrastructure should be able to handle this. There shouldn't be anything more than a brief transient impact on at least natural gas production and refining in the U.S. Now, the problem is this is trucking right across. You look at the phosphate areas. The Mosaic Company, for instance, has a lot of facilities that are in the direct path. Those are going to be offline for 3 to 6 weeks because of damage from and disruption from the storm. Again, if you look at things like, from a consumer standpoint, citrus, something like 2/3 of Florida's citrus production is going to be within the tropical storm force wind swath, and it's nearing harvest. So all that fruit's probably going to be lost. A bigger concern is if the storm keeps its intensity inland, you're not just looking at losing this year's crop, you're looking at tree damage.
Yeah.
That can take 4 or 5 years to recover.
Chuck, as it makes its way up into sort of onto land and then further north, how quickly does it dissipate? How much damage is it going to cause? How much further will we see the effects of this storm being felt?
Well, I can give you an example of that. In 2004, I do work with the University of Central Florida, and I'm a private pilot, flew down there. It was a sea, literally a sea of blue tarps all across Central Florida from Hurricane Charlie. And so you're likely to see damage all the way up to the Jacksonville area. Of course, you think of the big tourist industries in the Orlando area, Disney, Universal. You look at all of the economic activity that surrounds that. Even, of course, the Artemis spacecraft had to be rolled back to the vehicle assembly building. You're looking at disruptions all the way across the state. That I-4 corridor is so important to Florida's economy. And with a storm like this, you're looking at maybe, again, 3 to 6 weeks of disruption, even if it decays to being minimal hurricane or tropical storm by the time it gets to Jacksonville.